Months had passed, and David's company, Rufus Palm Generations, was making record-breaking headlines. The company had the world talking, and competitors were predicted to be forced into bankruptcy because their products simply couldn't compete. Then one morning, David woke up to his phone ringing, with his mother's name flashing across the screen. He answered the call and was hit with shocking news. All over the media, it read that Rufus Palm Generations was being investigated for funding an illegal drug operation and criminal activity. Before he could explain to his mother that he didn't know what was going on, Tameka ran into the room crying and yelling that FBI agents were at their front door with search and arrest warrants. A host of news reporters were on their front lawn, and helicopters were positioned over their house. Looking at Tameka with confusion, David hurried downstairs. An FBI agent approached him, read him his rights, and placed him in cuffs. Daisha came out of her room, saw them cuffing her father, and ran toward him screaming, "Leave my daddy alone!" she cried loudly as she tried to reach him. Tameka stepped in front of her and grabbed her before she could get to David. David saw Daisha and said to her, "Don't cry, baby. This is all a misunderstanding." He told her not to cry because everything would be all right.
Tameka, let's go inside.
Billy Cartwright places his arm around Tameka's shoulder, guiding her and Daisha inside. Tameka shaking uncontrollably.
What the hell is going on, Billy? Help us. You're his brother.
I'm trying to, but this is out of my hands. Listen, calm down. I know my brother didn't do this, but they are saying that he ordered the murder of some kid and that he is financing a drug operation. They have seized his company and all of his properties.
What?
Tameka looking shocked and confused.
That doesn't make any sense. What would be the reason for him to participate in any of this nonsense?
I never said I believe he did any of this. I just told you what they are claiming he did.
Billy Cartwright shaking his head in disbelief as he looks out the window. Tameka calling her best friend to explain what happened and asking her to come get the kids and bring them to her mother. After hanging up the phone, she focuses back on the conversation Billy and she were having.
I have to call Frank.
That's a great idea. I already called him on my way over here. I gave him a heads up. He is already down at the precinct. I was trying to make it here before the agents showed up to give y'all a heads up. I'm sorry I was late.
That's fine. This all has to be a misunderstanding.
Exactly. And I'm sure this will all be resolved in a matter of weeks. Don't worry. Let me head out and call my dad. I'm sure he will be busy trying to keep the business investors and endorsements from pulling away.
Down at the precinct, Frank Schaefer argued for an immediate release and filed for bond. The immediate release was denied, and a bond hearing was scheduled for the following week. All investors of Rufus Palm Generations backed out of their agreements, and the business also lost all endorsements. Tameka called Frank, and he told her to meet him at his office. She asked if it was okay for Jackson to join them, and he said of course. Walking into his office, she noticed the real concern on his face. They took a seat and started discussing the case.
Investors pulled back from their agreements, and we lost all endorsements within a few hours. What the hell is going on?
Frank Schaefer looking upset and depressed.
From what I gathered, Rufus Palm Generations is finished. The government doesn't just investigate Tameka. They dismantle.
What do you mean the business is finished?
Tameka saying this as she cries with concern.
My husband didn't do anything. He's innocent.
Frank chauffeur looking at Tameka with sorrow.
No, he didn't intentionally do anything. But yes, from what the evidence shows, he ignorantly aligned the business, as well as himself, with some bad people.
What?
Tameka saying this in shock.
Frank, David trusts you. I trust you. Help us. You know he didn't do anything.
Frank Schaefer sliding the paperwork from the investigation toward Jackson and Tameka.
It's not what I know, it's what I can prove. There's been an investigation going on for the last 2 years, and these properties, which were bought under the company's name, were used for drug trafficking. This vehicle, which is only in David's name, was used in a kidnapping and murder. We all know David didn't do any of this. I'm also sure we know who is responsible for this. Regardless, this is enough evidence alone to lose the business. But I believe with the right help, we can maybe save David.
The right help? You are the help, Frank. What are you talking about?
Frank Chauffeur puts his head down.
When it comes to business law, I can gladly depend on my expertise. But criminal law, a case like this, we need someone who has more experience and connections.
Tameka looking at Frank in disbelief.
So, now you will turn your back on us.
Frank Schaefer grabbing Tameka's hands to assure her.
I'll die before I leave you and David in this mess alone with no support. I will still fight with all I have for the business to at least clear his name. But as far as the criminal charges, I already contacted my uncle, Miles Schaffer, to help us. He's one of the best, especially when it comes to charges brought by the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
Tameka now showing a sign of relief.
I can't believe this. We have to get him home. The kids will go crazy without him.
I already requested a bond hearing, but most likely he will be denied bail the first time. Don't worry, we'll get it on the second try. He will probably end up on house arrest until the trial.
Jackson Cartwright placing his hand over his face.
My God, no. This can't be happening. I gave Rufus my word I would protect his son.
Jackson Cartwright begins to cry. Tameka comforting Jackson Cartwright.
It's not your fault, Papa. Dream and I had an argument a few months ago in his office about him helping his brother. His mother told us that word had gotten back to her, that his brother had allegedly killed someone in the car. That isn't Dream's name. Dream confronted him. He denied it and claimed he no longer had the vehicle because it was stolen and later found burned up. I tried everything to get him to see that he should separate himself from his brother. For some reason, he just refused to do so.
Frank Schaefer remembering the contract David had drawn up for DeLawrence to sign regarding the properties he occupied.
You're right.
Frank Schaefer excitedly printing out the contract and showing it to Tameka.
This is actually a contract David had me draw up for DeLawrence to sign, showing that all these properties were solely for his use.
Tameka feeling a sense of relief as she reads the contract.
Thank God. So this should be enough to free him.
Jackson Cartwright reading the contract and smiling.
Smart move, David. This definitely proves his innocence.
I will send this to my Uncle Miles. Maybe this will put all of this behind us. With this contract, David most likely will be coming home after the first bond hearing.
Tameka gave the good news to David over the phone, and he was relieved. He asked her if she had talked to or heard from DeLawrence, and she said no. She also told him that Frank's uncle, Miles, suggested she not say anything to anyone about the evidence potentially proving his innocence. David asked Tameka about his kids and mother. She told him his kids were doing okay, but his mother had been hospitalized for a few days due to the stress of him being arrested. She told him his mom had cut all ties with DeLawrence because not only did he get David arrested, but he also embarrassed his father's name. Rufus Palm was a well-respected pastor who had strong respect within the community. When David named his business after his father, that name then became global, with his father's reputation as a respected pastor spreading like wildfire. The name became a global sensation thanks to the business reaching record-breaking heights. Now that once well-known global name had dirt on it behind lies and misconceptions. Mrs. Palm's last words to Dolorans were that she regretted giving birth to him.
D.M.G. Studios, stories that make us better.